What if I told you that one of the biggest investing mistakes isn't picking the wrong stock? It's spending too much time worrying about what the Federal Reserve will do next. Because here's the truth. Great investors make money whether interest rates go up, go down, or don't move at all. Welcome to the Simply Speaking About Money video channel. It is here where we talk about budgeting, saving, and investing in the real world of probabilities, and not the crazy hype, noise, and lottery-like promises of possibilities. Every time the Federal Reserve meets, financial news explodes. Will rates go up? Will rates come down? What does it mean for investors? The headlines make it sound like your financial future depends on one announcement. It doesn't. That's not to say interest rates don't matter. They absolutely do. They influence borrowing costs, mortgages, business loans, savings accounts, and sometimes even investor emotions. But they shouldn't control your entire investment strategy. Many beginning investors freeze while waiting for the perfect interest rate environment. They postpone investing, delay retirement contributions, or leave cash sitting on the sidelines. Unfortunately, the market doesn't send invitations when the perfect time finally arrives. Here's something worth remembering. Markets have climbed during periods of high interest rates, low interest rates, and everything in between. History suggests that successful investing depends far more on discipline than on predicting Federal Reserve meetings. Think about driving across the country. Would you refuse to start the trip because you aren't sure whether it might rain next Tuesday? Of course not. You prepare for different weather conditions, then you begin the journey. Investing works much the same way. One reason investors become obsessed with interest rates is because the financial media has to fill 24 hours every day. If nothing dramatic happens, they'll spend hours discussing what might happen. Sometimes breaking news is simply tomorrow, arriving one day at a time. Meanwhile, long-term investors quietly keep contributing to their retirement accounts. They continue buying quality investments, they rebalance when necessary, and they let time do most of the heavy lifting. Not very exciting, but surprisingly effective. Let's be honest, predicting interest rates is incredibly difficult. Even professional economists often disagree. If experts with enormous research departments can't consistently predict the future, perhaps we shouldn't expect ourselves to do it over breakfast and a cup of coffee. Instead of asking, what will the Fed do next? Try asking, is my investment plan strong enough to succeed regardless of what the Fed does? That's a much more productive question. Successful investors focus on what they can control, how much they save, how consistently they invest, their diversification, their costs, their emotions. Notice what's missing. Trying to outguess the Federal Reserve. Think of investing like sailing across the ocean. You can't control the wind. You can't control the waves. But you can adjust the sails. Good sailors don't complain about the weather. They learn how to navigate through it. Good investors do exactly the same thing. This shift in thinking changes everything. Instead of fearing higher rates or hoping for lower rates, you begin preparing for all possibilities. That's where confidence comes from. Not prediction, preparation. Throughout history, there have been bull markets with high rates, bull markets with low rates, bear markets with both. Interest rates influence markets, but they don't completely determine them. There are simply too many moving parts. So here's the big question. If successful investors don't spend their lives worrying about every Federal Reserve announcement, what do they actually do? In the next section, we'll look at how rising rates, falling rates, and stable rates each create different opportunities, and why disciplined investors can succeed in every one of those environments. Let's start with rising interest rates. Most investors hear that phrase and immediately think, that's bad for the stock market. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. The real answer is much more interesting. Higher interest rates usually mean borrowing money becomes more expensive. Businesses may slow expansion. Consumers may spend a little less. That can reduce the pace of economic growth. But slowing growth isn't the same as stopping growth. Higher rates also create opportunities. Savings accounts often pay more. Certificates of deposit become more attractive. Newly issued bonds usually offer higher yields. For conservative investors, that's not bad news. It's simply a different opportunity. Think of interest rates like the seasons. Winter isn't bad. Summer isn't good. They're just different environments. You wear different clothes. Investing works the same way. Different conditions call for different expectations, not panic. Now let's talk about falling interest rates. Lower borrowing costs often encourage businesses to invest. Consumers may buy homes or cars more easily. That can support economic activity and sometimes boost stock prices. But falling rates aren't always a celebration. Sometimes rates are lowered because the economy is weakening. So lower rates can be both good news and a warning sign. Context always matters. Stable interest rates deserve some attention too. Believe it or not, sometimes nothing happened is excellent news. Businesses like predictability. Investors like predictability. Markets often appreciate stability more than surprises. This is why building an investment strategy around Federal Reserve predictions is so difficult. The same interest rate decision can produce different market reactions depending on inflation, corporate earnings, employment, and investor expectations. It's never just one variable. Imagine baking a cake. Interest rates are one ingredient. Important? Absolutely. But if you ignore the flour, eggs, sugar, and oven temperature, you're probably not getting dessert. Markets work exactly the same way. Here's something worth remembering. Markets often begin moving months before the Federal Reserve actually changes interest rates. By the time the announcement reaches the evening news, professional investors have usually been thinking about it for quite a while. Trying to react after the headlines is often like showing up after the parade has already passed. That's why chasing the news rarely builds lasting wealth. There's always another meeting, another prediction, another expert, another urgent headline. Meanwhile, your long-term investment plan quietly keeps working. One of the greatest advantages individual investors have is patience. You don't have to outperform everyone this month. You simply need to stay invested through many market cycles. Time is an incredible advantage when you allow it to work for you. Instead of asking, "What will interest rates do next quarter?" ask yourself, "Am I consistently buying quality investments every month?" That's a question you can actually control. Here's the shift successful investors make. They stop trying to predict economic weather and start building financial umbrellas. Whether rates rise, fall, or stay exactly where they are, their investment plan keeps moving forward. In our final section, we'll discuss the habits that allow disciplined investors to succeed through every interest rate environment and why consistency often beats prediction. So, what's the secret? Successful investors don't build portfolios for one possible future. They build portfolios that can handle many possible futures. That's a completely different way of thinking. Imagine building a house. Would you only prepare it for sunny days? Of course not. You install a roof for rain, insulation for winter, and windows for summer. Your investment portfolio deserves the same kind of planning. The strongest investment plans aren't based on predictions. They're based on preparation. That's why diversification has survived every major market cycle for generations. No one knows what comes next. Diversification acknowledges that reality. Think about your retirement account. If you're contributing every month, you're buying investments at high prices, low prices, and everything in between. That's called consistency. And consistency has quietly built enormous wealth for millions of investors. One month, higher interest rates may pressure parts of the market. A year later, lower rates might help different sectors. Meanwhile, you're still investing, you're still accumulating shares, and you're still moving toward your long-term goals. This is one reason dollar-cost averaging can be so powerful. Instead of worrying about buying at exactly the right moment, you simply continue investing on a regular schedule. Some purchases will look brilliant, others won't. Over time, consistency often beats perfect timing. Here's something that surprises many new investors. Your biggest advantage isn't predicting interest rates. It's having decades for your investments to grow. Time is one of the few advantages available to every investor. Use it wisely. Remember, the Federal Reserve has changed interest rates many times over the past several decades. Markets have experienced recessions, recoveries, inflation, deflation, bull markets, and bear markets. Yet disciplined investors who stayed invested have historically been rewarded over the long run. Does that mean investing is easy? Not always. Markets can be uncomfortable. Headlines can be scary. Volatility is part of the journey. But discomfort isn't the same thing as failure. One of the best habits you can develop is turning down the volume on financial noise. You don't have to react to every prediction. You don't have to chase every headline. Sometimes the smartest financial decision is simply doing nothing. That's not laziness. It's discipline. Professional athletes don't become successful by changing their technique every 5 minutes. Successful investors don't become wealthy by changing strategies after every Federal Reserve meeting. Focus your attention where it matters most. Increase your savings rate whenever possible. Keep investment costs low. Maintain a diversified portfolio. Review your plan periodically, not emotionally. Those habits matter far more than trying to guess next month's interest rate announcement. Here's today's biggest lesson. Interest rates matter. The Federal Reserve matters. But neither should become the center of your investing universe. Your financial future will be shaped much more by your long-term habits than by any single decision made in Washington. So stop asking, what will the Fed do next? Instead ask, is my investment plan prepared for whatever the Fed decides? That's the mindset of a confident, disciplined investor. Remember our philosophy here at Simply Speaking About Money. Invest based on probabilities, not possibilities. If you found value in today's video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to Simply Speaking About Money so you never miss practical strategies that help you build wealth and make smarter financial decisions. Also, check the description box below for the financial tool we recommend related to today's topic. It's a resource we personally suggest because it can help you apply what you've just learned and take action immediately. Your support helps this channel continue bringing you clear, no-hype financial education. Now stay with us, because up next is a special bonus that can help you take this even further. If you want to see your entire financial life in one place, clarity is the first step. That's where Empower comes in. Empower gives you powerful tools to track your net worth, monitor investments, analyze fees, and plan for retirement, all in one dashboard. You can connect your accounts, see exactly where you stand, and make smarter decisions with real data, because what gets measured gets managed. If you're serious about organizing your money and building long-term wealth, check out the link in the description to explore Empower. Affiliate disclosure: I may earn a commission if you sign up using my link at no extra cost to you.